The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Catch up with us on Business Brief. Asian shares are mostly higher on Friday after U.S. stocks ran up to the edge of another record. Investors are watching for further details after President Donald Trump announced that the U.S. and China have signed a trade deal. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says the deal was signed 2 days ago, but he did not give details, only saying that Trump likes to close the deals himself. Worries about Trump's higher tariffs have receded since he shocked the world in April with stiff proposed levies, but concerns have not disappeared. This as the wait is still on to see how big the tariffs will ultimately be, how much they will hurt the economy, and how much they will push up inflation. Mixed movement dominates the Asian markets, with Japan's Nikkei 225 rising the most at more than 1%, while South Korea's Kospi falling the most at more than 1%. In the currency markets, the US dollar appreciated against Singapore dollar, South Korean won, and Thai baht, but it is flat against the Japanese yen and Hong Kong's dollar. The Australian dollar is also flat with a downward bias against the greenback. In commodities and crypto, gold prices dropped by more than 1%. Meanwhile, oil prices are mixed, with West Texas Intermediate crude and Brent crude gaining 0.6%. However, Dubai crude is flat with a slight uptick. In the cryptocurrency space, Bitcoin is down by nearly 0.2%, while Ethereum also down 0.2%. The U.S. economy has a 40% chance of going into a recession in the second half of 2025. That declaration made by analysts at J.P. Morgan, adding that higher tariffs are weighing on economic growth. The investment bank adds that tariffs could squeeze both consumer purchasing power and corporate profit margins. Because of this, J.P. Morgan has downgraded its U.S. economic growth forecast for 2025 from 2% to 1.3%. The Philippine trade deficit fell to $3.29 billion in May. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority shows this is 30.4% lower than the $4.7 billion trade gap in the same month last year. This as imports dropped by 4.4% to $10.58 billion in May, while exports increased by 15.1% to $7.29 billion. The Philippines has slashed its growth target for 2025, now expecting a 5.5 to 6.5% GDP increase, citing global uncertainty and slowing trade. But an economist remains optimistic. On BNC's Business 360, RCBC Chief Economist Michael Ricafort said the country is relatively resilient, with markets seeing the Philippines as one of the economies least affected by export slowdowns.
Even my forecast is around 5.5 to 6% for this year. Well, at least it's more realistic and achievable now.
Meantime, Ricafort downplayed the impact of a 3.5% tax on remittances proposed by President Trump. He says it would be relatively negligible for the country's economy.
Not much, because it's relatively negligible. Realistically, yeah, they may reduce a bit, but that's 3.5% is relatively affordable for a lot of OFWs, and but better if there's none.
The Transportation Department secures funding from the U.S. Trade and Development Agency for the technical assistance in the construction of the Subic-Clark-Manila-Batangas Railway. The railway is designed to link 3 major ports in Luzon and decongest traffic at the Port of Manila. Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs, Frederick Go, said the project boosts the initiative of linking major economic hubs under the Luzon Economic Corridor. Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon said the freight cargo railway aims to decentralize the Manila port. It will also provide the additional transport capacity needed at the Batangas port and Subic Bay. This is in line with President Marcos's directive of ensuring uninterrupted movement of goods. President Marcos leads the inauguration of the Valor Clinic at San Fernando Air Base in Lipa City, Batangas. The project is a collaboration between the Defense Department, the Veterans Memorial Medical Center, and the Philippine Air Force. It aims to boost healthcare access for veterans and retired soldiers. Under the Valor program, military treatment facilities will be built or upgraded to better serve former troops and their dependents. With Iran-Israel tensions easing, the Energy Department anticipates fuel prices to drop next week. Based on 4 days of trading, gasoline may go down by up to 1 peso and 40 centavos per liter, diesel by 2 pesos and 10 centavos, and kerosene by 2 pesos and 20 centavos. Acting Energy Chief Sharon Garin says global oil prices have been sliding since the Middle East ceasefire. The projected rollback will only partially offset this week's two-part price increase. We're taking a short break. More business stories up next. You're watching Business Brief. Aboitiz Power Corporation starts borrowing funds as the company launches the first tranche of its 100 billion peso retail bond program by offering up to 30 billion pesos in fixed-rate bonds to repay existing debt. This consists of a 20 billion peso base offer with a 10 billion peso oversubscription option. The first tranche earlier received the highest possible rating of AAA with a stable outlook from the Philippine Rating Services Corporation. The offer period runs until July 4 with listing on the Philippine Dealing and Exchange Corporation set for July 14. The company has also secured approval from the Securities and Exchange Commission or SEC. Tech billionaire Elon Musk lauds the Marcos administration's digital initiatives. Musk reposted a news item about Marcos's recent visit to Marawi City, where he donated Starlink internet kits to temporary learning spaces to boost digital learning. Marcos also inspected other parts of the city as it continues to rebuild after the 2017 siege by Maute militants. The Australian government reportedly rules out hosting former President Rodrigo Duterte for interim release. The Philippine Star reports Australia neither agreed nor considered such a move. Vice President Sara Duterte earlier said her father is looking at Australia as one of the host nations for his requested release. In their petition at the International Criminal Court, his lawyers said an unnamed country has expressed its willingness to temporarily shelter the former president. FPRRD is detained in The Hague for alleged crimes against humanity in relation to his bloody war on drugs. The Governance Commission for Government-Owned or Controlled Corporations approves a major overhaul of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation. The restructuring includes over 7,100 positions across 503 units to improve the delivery of service. This is meant to address long-standing operational issues at PhilHealth. It will also centralize key functions like finance, IT, and HR to streamline services. PhilHealth posted a net loss of nearly 193 billion pesos in 2024, less than one-third of the 700 billion peso net loss 2 years ago. It still owes hospitals 21 billion pesos and remains under scrutiny over a 90 billion peso fund transfer to the national government. Out of the 90 billion, nearly 30 billion pesos was blocked by the Supreme Court. The National Food Authority will limit palay purchases to farmers listed in the government's official registry. The move aims to eliminate traders from the procurement process of unhusked rice. NFA branches are required to submit a monthly list of the purchases and maintain a table where farmers groups can observe the buying process. Data can also be shared on social media with the farmers' consent. After a power outage crippled LRT2 operations this week, the Marcos administration is fast-tracking its privatization through a public-private partnership. The timeline is moved up for next year with help from the World Bank's International Finance Corporation. The fully government-owned LRT2, which runs from Recto to Antipolo, is slated for extension to North Harbor. The move is seen to increase ridership, making the PPP deal more attractive to investors. A similar PPP plan is being prepared for MRT3 in partnership with the Asian Development Bank. Transport Secretary Vince Dizon says fares will remain government-regulated even under private operations. Megaworld subsidiary Global Estate Resorts Incorporated, or GERI, allots 5 billion pesos for the development of Nascala Coast. In a disclosure, Megaworld says the sprawling 116-hectare beachside property in Subic, Batangas is set to become the 36th township of the Megaworld Group. The place will seamlessly blend residential villages and beachside condominium clusters, vibrant commercial hubs, and dynamic leisure destinations. GERI is also gearing up to launch a 112-hectare mixed-use township in Cagayan de Oro to expand its footprint in key locations across the country. We're taking another breather. More business stories up next. You're watching Business Brief. You're back on Business Brief. Nike plans to reduce its production in China to mitigate the impact of U.S. tariffs on imports. Because of this, Nike shares went up 11% in extended trading. Company executives say President Trump's sweeping tariffs could add around $1 billion to Nike's costs. China accounts for about 16% of the shoes Nike imports to the U.S. Smartphone maker Xiaomi launches its new electric SUV, the YU7. To be able to compete in the market, it's priced at roughly $35,364, almost 4% cheaper than Tesla's Model Y. Xiaomi made the unit available Thursday night, with orders hitting 200,000 in 3 minutes after the sale started. The YU7 has a driving range of up to 835 kilometers per charge. Over now to Venice in Italy for the so-called wedding of the century. Billionaire Jeff Bezos and journalist Lauren Sanchez have begun 3 days of lavish nuptials. Monique Tuzon gives us a glimpse of the glitz and glamour with high-profile guests arriving in the city.
Bill Gates, Orlando Bloom, Oprah, and Leonardo DiCaprio. These are just some of the over 200 A-listers attending the 3-day lavish wedding celebrations of Amazon boss Jeff Bezos and journalist Lauren Sanchez. Also among the guests, Tom Brady, the Queen of Jordan, Usher, Kim Kardashian, and Ivanka Trump. Security in Venice, Italy was tightened for the so-called wedding of the century, which is estimated to cost around $50 million. The event has stirred debate about its impact on one of the world's most beautiful cities. While others say it is good for tourism, critics see it as an example of the city being gift-wrapped for ultra-rich outsiders. Venice has hosted scores of VIP weddings, including that of Amal and George Clooney in 2014. Bezos and Sanchez confirmed the relationship in 2019. They got engaged in 2023 4 years after the collapse of his 25-year marriage to Mackenzie Scott. The couple will exchange vows Friday local time on the small island of San Giorgio. Monique Tuzon, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Shocking news from the fashion world. After nearly 4 decades, Anna Wintour steps down as editor-in-chief of U.S. Vogue. The 75-year-old style icon announced the move at a staff meeting in New York. Since taking over in 1988, Wintour shaped Vogue into a global powerhouse with its covers seen as monthly declarations of fashion authority. Described as the most powerful figure in the industry, Wintour became more famous as the inspiration of the movie The Devil Wears Prada. While she's leaving her day-to-day role, Wintour is far from retiring. She will continue to hold senior roles and stay on as Vogue's global editorial editor or director. Philippine shares bounced back to the 6,400 level after rising for 4 straight days. The PSE index ended higher by more than 1% to close at 6,408, finishing the day as the second best performer in Asia. Among the sectoral indices, only mining and oil ended in the red, with property rising the most at nearly 3%. Advancers outpaced decliners 129 to 63. Total value turnover reached 6.5 billion pesos. Week on week, the PSEI also rose by more than 1%. Majority of the day's most active stocks ended in the green, with Ayala Land rising the most at nearly 5%. Meanwhile, the foreign exchange market, the peso, is currently trading at 56.64 against the greenback, depreciating from the previous close of 56.61. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Join us again next week as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business. Only here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. See you then.